Welcome to the video lecture series on Python programming. This is the second video on conditions and loops. In this video, I am going to discuss about the iterations, for loop, arguments and parameters to pass in for loop, and how to use the nested for loop. When we talk about the iterations, basically we need to execute a particular statement multiple times. And to execute a statement multiple times, we need to focus on some conditions. Like, what is the starting point? Till what point we are going to execute it? And what is the change of value? As I talk about the for loop, in any programming languages, there are 3 points. One is the initialization, say I starts from 1 till what value? Say I is equal to 10 is the last value. And what is the increment or decrement value? Means the change in value of variable. Say in this case, the change in variable is +1. So we have these three conditions: initialization, I is equal to 1, the last point, I is equal to 10, and the third condition is increment the value, which is I plus plus, means I is going to increment one by one. We can also change the conditions as per our requirement, and on behalf of these three statements, our for loops work, means our iterations are in execution. Let's see the hands-on. When we talk about the for loop, let me show you this thing with these three conditions first. For, I am using here I variable, and the value of this I is in range. So here we are going to use one keyword in and a function in Python which is range. So the value of I is initially 1 and till 10 with the increment of 1. Now I am going to use a colon for starting the scope, and you can see the indentation. Next we are using print I. Now what it means? The meaning of this statement is I am going to use a variable I which is by default initialized by 1 till 10, and the increment value is 1. We can also use -1 where the initialization is 10, 1 and -1. So 1 by 1 the value is going to decrease, and loop works like 10, 9, 8, 7, 6 and so on. Here I am going to print the value I. See what's the output. You will see the change of variable I. Here the value of variable I is initially 1, 2, 3 till n minus 1. So the value here I am using is basically, you can treat this as 1 is the initial point I, then the value is n minus 1, and I am using here I plus plus as an increment. Okay, take another example where I am going to use it 2. What it means, instead of this I plus plus, I am saying I plus 2, and the output is 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. So see the difference. Or we can do one more thing here. Let's talk about only a single parameter. Say I'm using here only 10. Now what it means, by default it is taking the initial value which is 0. Okay, when we talk about the programming language, the index starts with 0 by default, and the range function is till 10. So the all 10 elements starting from 0 till n minus 1 means 9. See the output. So the value is coming from 0 to 9. So here you can treat it as I is initially 0, and this is n minus 1, and it is I plus plus, the increment value. Now come to the point where I have declared x is equal to 7 for I in range X. It means if I am going to execute this, so the output is from 0 to 6. Now what will be the output if I am using this statement? Nothing new in this. This initial value is 2. So the output is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's it. Because the end value is 7 and here it will treat it as 7 minus 1, 6. So this is all about the for loop where I am going to use the iterations. Let's see one more thing. Is it mandatory to use the range function? No, it is not mandatory. We can also use the supporting things like I am not going to give the range. I am here going to give the array. In Python, we have the name list and the values are like 1, 2, 3, 4 and say next is 6. I am not going to use 5. Okay, now what will be the output? By default, Python is taking this as an array of elements and one by one all the elements are going to be used in I. See the value. The value is this thing. Okay, can we do some combinations here in printing the value? Yes, of course. We can use this like I'm using here I plus I. Now what it means? Here in this print statement I am using I plus I. According to you, what do you think? What will be the output? Here the I is 1 and 1 plus 1, 2 plus 2, 3 plus 3, 4 plus 4, 6 plus 6. So this is the output. Not it is showing the plus. It is basically taking the value, adding it and showing you. Okay, because we are not treating as a string. So these are the integers and they are giving the summation of the value. Similarly, you can use the multiplication to find the square or you can use any string in this. Take one more example about the string. How we can use a string in this? To pass a string, I need single quotes and I am using here Harsh. Now, what is the meaning of this statement? Means, am I giving any range? Yes, I am giving a range that I is in Harsh and one by one each and every character is going to be traversed here. So what will be the output? One by one it is going to traverse and the output is HARSH. So that's the beauty about the Python, that how easy it is to use the for loop. And now it's time for you to calculate something. As I am using this statement, you can also use the count and to find the sum. So this is the task for you to do yourself. As we are using here to print I plus plus or I plus I multiply I. Similarly, you can use a variable count in this place and you can count the value of I. How you are going to use this? Okay, let me show you this. Count is equal to count plus I. Now what it means? In this case, one by one all the elements are coming and going to store in the count. So this is basically the count value which we are using here, and see it will show you the result in. Okay, we need a print statement as well, and yes, there are 5 elements in the array. Okay, and what will happen if I am using here I in place of 1? Now one by one these elements are going to be stored here, and now this is going to use as finding the sum. Okay, let's try this, and the sum is 16. So the variables doesn't matter. The main thing is what you are going to perform with Python. So with the single change, the count is replaced by the sum. So here, this is an exercise for you at least to perform these type of small tasks and play with Python. So this is about the for loop. Now let's talk about the nested for loop. How we can use this? This is quite similar with the other programming languages where we are using generally the braces. Here we are not going to use the braces. I am going to use here some simple things like for j in range say 3, okay, and the indentation starts, and I am going to say print I plus j. Loop terminates. So what I did here, I am going to use for loop inside a for loop where initially I am taking some integers in the form of list or array, and in the inner for loop I am going to use another variable named j, which is in range 3. Range 3 says by default the values are 0, 1, 2, means n minus 1. So when I am going to use range 3, it means j value is from 0, then in the next iteration 1, in the next iteration 2. And what I am going to print here? I plus j. So initially the value of I is equal to 1, and initially the value of j is equal to 0. So the answer is 1 plus 0, 1. In the next iteration 1 plus 1, 2. In the next iteration 1 plus 2, 3. Similarly, see what is the output here. So as I have given a condition of these iterated for loops, and then I am going to print the value I plus j, and as per my expectations Python is giving me the output, and once all the iterations are done, the print statement is there, loop terminates. In this manner we can use the nested for loop. Now I am giving you a task for your practice. Think about these type of iterations like searching. You can use some sort of finding the maximum element by using these for loop, and try to think more on the nested for loop and practice yourself. Thank you for watching the video. In next video, I will discuss about the while loop. Thank you.